welcome to Wicked Sports, and we continue on with the Red Wings for usual, at least once a week. And with not much news happening since the beginning of free agency, we have a general question for today. Did the Red Wings improve through their first few days of free agency?
To me? I think you'd have to say, with Tarasenko, I would think he is a slight upgrade over Iran. Um, I think he offers, some size, and he's another guy who doesn't play much defense. Um, but I don't know if you can really say they improved, but I don't think they went back any.
No.
And since they were, to me, I still say that team should have been a 100-point team. And if they could correct some of the errors, and they got Patrick Kane for a year, I think they could be close to a 100-point team.
Yeah.
They were it last year, and I don't expect them to take a step back. How much of a step forward? I don't know if it'll be much. What do you got? You have Tyler Mote. They picked him up. People say we're going to love him. He's going to be like our third or fourth line guy.
Yeah, likely, because his stats weren't high, but I mean, he's that fringe guy on minor league to
Well, he
NHL.
he isn't a point guy.
He's basically a Christian Fisher again.
Right. We love Christian Fisher, and we got him back, and he's going to be a guy who stops the other team's big lines. The big question is, you go back and forth. Is Cam Talbot an improvement in goal?
Is he? That is a big question. Is Cam Talbot better? I mean, you have 5 goalies after you trade Fabry away. Obviously, I think Alexander's going to be staying in the minors with Kosa. But your question is between Husso, Leinen, Jack Campbell, and Cam Talbot, who is going to be that one? Obviously, probably not Jack Campbell, because he kind of blew it in Edmonton, but sometimes a new place does good for you.
Right. I mean, he's an unknown. He's a guy you're probably thinking he certainly at one time was a very good goalie. And if he can regain form, that's a big if.
Yes.
But if he can, I mean, I don't think we have a number one goalie.
He is minor league depth. That's all Jack Campbell is. You are going between your 3 at the moment. And personally, I still feel like maybe Yzerman's going to work on one other deal that he could potentially make, seeing as you do have 4 NHL goalies, for say, because I don't think Campbell will be in the minors. But
right, there's nothing to say Kosa might not make the jump. I don't know. That would take a big thing. I mean, for Yzerman to let that. But I mean, who knows? They don't have a number one goalie.
No. I mean, and I know some people aren't going to be the happiest with them trading Fabry, but that made money for Tarasenko. You're basically at your max. Only 1 out of your 4 restricted free agents filed for arbitration, being Joe Villano. So we'll see what ends up happening between Seider, Raymond, and Berggren on exactly how they agree to their deal. Joe Villano, I mean, he's not going to make that much extra outside of Seider and Raymond. There's about $3 million to work with cap wise. Unless they trade somebody. So there isn't actually that much movement they can do from here on out.
I hope these deals get done soon. Then you can see kind of if there's anything left that you can do. I don't think until these deals get done, you can really make a trade.
Yes. They're basically, basically waiting on these deals to be done to see who's going to end up possibly being traded again. Because again, I would feel our most likely is probably Husso. I don't know the chances of Hall being traded away. I don't know the chances of Petrie being traded away. But there's still a chance somebody gets traded for something. And or just cap space. Because you still need room for other players to be on the team. Johansson does not need to be on the team next year. He signed a 2-way contract, so it's not like he has to play up here next year. So they settled that. But you're probably going to have Evanston up this year. And that's just a question. How much better are they actually going to be? Yzerman even said he saw the team to be the same as it was last year. Which, again, in my opinion, I predicted 99 points, and they were almost there last year. And they probably will potentially be around there again this year, depending on how teams play. I know some people are still kind of high on Florida, even though they lost half their team in free agency.
They didn't lose any of their top guys, though. I mean, top 8 or top 6, whatever it is.
They still lost a good amount in free agency.
They did. I still think they're going to be right there with, you can't count them out of the top 3 for sure. It's still Boston, Florida, and Toronto. Whoever comes out of that. Uh, I don't. I kind of like I said. If the best case scenario would be if we could dump Hall and Petrie and somehow pick up a Truba or an Ekblad. I know that's kind of wishful thinking. Um, the Truba thing was disappointing, but I understand why he doesn't want to move. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't blame him for that.
And there's also still no guarantee that he will not come here. I think they said like, oh, we might be on a no trade list, but they don't think a trade's going to happen just because of the situation going on. So like, I won't say it's a done deal that he's not going to be here, but I would not expect anything of him being here at all this year. Right. Maybe next year, if you want to try and eat up a contract for a year, but I doubt it.
Right. I mean, again, we're still trying to just make the playoffs. That's the goal. It was the goal last year. We didn't make it. But we did improve quite a bit. So I'm hoping that we take another step forward. Are we going to get lucky enough to where 91 points can get you in the playoffs again? I'm not sure.
Probably
the point. That was luck. This was kind of a down year. So you might need 100 points to make the playoffs. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's not as easy. It's not going to be as easy as it was last year. If we go look at the standings from last year, we know that our division was kind of locked up fairly easily against the Wings, and then from there, really it went wild for the wild card. Just outside of that, because it was just stuck from there. So looking at the standings, right, we were sitting behind Tampa in our division, and we were 7 points back from Tampa. Is Tampa going to be as good without Stamkos? That's a question.
I don't think so.
Is Toronto going to be as good without Bertuzzi and a couple of the other guys they lost? That's up in the air. Boston, they're roughly the same team, but they won't have Ullmark. Are they going to have a good enough backup goalie to go with Swayman? And even contract talks with Swayman right now aren't 100% at the moment. So we'll see what happens there. And then Florida,
they lost a big chunk, which means they're not going to be able to field as many good players in front of them.
And then looking at the teams behind us, Buffalo, they were only 7 points behind us. And if they have a good chance at being better. Do they still probably suck? Most likely. But you never know. Someone could just wake up on their team.
Right.
Same thing with Ottawa. I mean, they got Ullmark now. How much better will goaltending be for them? They got rid of a couple other pieces. That's why I'm iffy on Ottawa. But they could be better. And even Montreal, sitting at the bottom of our division, they had 76 points last year. They were only 6 games below 500.
Right. It's so hard. It's so hard to make these playoffs in this conference. It's, I mean, that's why, you keep beating up on the Yzer plan and people are losing faith. Well, I mean, this is not an easy job.
No. And the other team you got to look at, from the other division, right? Washington, they made massive improvements.
Right.
On their defensive end, and even a little bit in goaltending. So they might not even be in the wild card conversation next year. So then you go look at the Islanders, because I don't think the Rangers and Carolina are going anywhere.
I feel bad because Pittsburgh, like I said, they're sitting there languishing with the same team.
They have
Sidney Crosby, and you keep thinking any team with Sidney Crosby is going to have a shot.
They still got their core from 07, 08 when they were in the Cup.
I know, but that core is really starting.
But it's old. It's old. They're
that's
not.
That's why Sid the Kid should come.
All the old guys back on the wings.
No,
all the legends from the 2000s all being on one team. I would love having
Sidney Crosby on the wings for at least a year or two.
But even then, you can even look at Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, who weren't terrible teams last year, who were vying for a playoff spot. Philadelphia had hopes up until the last second, too, until that empty netter went in. That killed about 3 teams' playoffs hopes in one game.
Yep.
So it came down to the last game for a lot of teams, and it's not going to be as easy next year.
Is the only team that we're kind of counting out of the playoffs is Montreal?
In our division, probably.
Or in both of it. I mean, what's the worst team in the other division?
Columbus. And probably not with Columbus.
So Columbus and Montreal.
New Jersey made improvements in goaltending.
The Islanders are still there.
Islanders are going to be your wild card most likely.
It's
depending on how well Washington plays.
Yeah,
right?
Not. I mean, out of the 16 teams, I guess that are in
There's
our
4 teams, 2 teams that are question marks, which I'm saying are Buffalo and Ottawa. Right? We don't know how good they're going to be. We don't know how bad they're going to be. Because depending on what happens with them, they could be better, they could be worse. Though 2 that you probably can count out are Montreal and Columbus on our side.
and Montreal's been improving. So I mean, you don't know. It's crazy. I mean, our conference is just other than the top teams, which we know are going to be there, the Boston's, the Toronto's, the Rangers, and Florida. I mean, everything else is Carolina will be there. So you're talking, that's already 5 teams that you pretty much have penned in for the playoffs, and the other team, and you got, you're fighting for that 7th and 8th seed.
If you get a 10-point difference between you and whoever was behind you, you have about 4 teams within that 10-point range, which is actually about 6 teams, including you and Washington from last year, in a 10-point range, a 5-game range that could have swung any way because you go on a 7-game losing streak during the year. So if you didn't think you improved, there's going to be a problem. But if you don't think you got worse, that's good, right? We're roughly in the same spot. You just fix a few tiny things here and there with how you're playing, and you should be a more capable playoff team. But we just have to see how the defense does next year, because that's been our problem the past 3 years, with our goalies facing 40 to 45 shots a game and not being able to do a single thing about it. Because yes, they let in 3 goals or 4 goals, but that's because they still stop 95% of their shots.
Right, and that's what they're saying about Cam Talbot. Everyone was kind of excited when we signed him, but you got to realize that guy played on a top 5 defensive team. Which averaged like 25, 26 shots a game.
Almost doubling his intake.
Hey, guess what? You're going to be playing for the Wigs. So it's going to be like freaking machine gun fire with hockey pucks on you.
So as long as your defense improved, I see a better season. If it doesn't fully improve that much.
What is their defense? Their defense is still Evason. Is he the only one that's going to be coming up? Gustafson.
Evason and Gustafson. Those will be your 2 new ones.
Those are the 2, basically the 2 ones that are coming.
You're going to have Sherratt.
So what are the pairings?
You're going to have Sherratt, Gustafson, Mata, Petrie, Seider,
and from what I heard from the Hockey Report, basically they're saying Ben Sherratt and Seider will be together. Then you got Edmondson, Jeff Petrie in the second one, which I don't get that. I guess you can't put. I would put Edmondson with Seider, and I put Sherratt with Petrie because they know how to play together. If that's the case, there is how I would.
And then you got Ali Mata and Eric Gustafson.
Right. So the only thing I would switch from what they said, I'd put Edmondson up there with Moritz Seider and just say, hey, buddy, that you're playing.
Get a young group together. Build some chemistry.
Playing together. Be our Konstantinov and Lindstrom for this generation. That's what we need.
We'll see what they end up deciding.
I say put them together because I know that Petrie and Sherratt know how to play together. They're a good tandem, or at least a decent tandem.
That's all you can hope for out of those 2 guys, because they're our weakest links on the defense. So if they play well, then you're good.
Mata and Gustafson should be a good defensive pairing. Maybe not much offense, but a good defensive pairing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, and if some deal can be made, I mean, that's where I think the weakness is on the back end more than the front. We need defense. We need goaltending.
Yep.
I'm not sure.
And right now we have to see what happens. Right. Because we have new people on both parts of our defense and goaltending, and we got to see what happens.
Because I see, maybe Lyon playing about 50 games and Gustafson playing about 30.
I could see.
Or not Gustafson, Talbot.
I could see a split of 50-50 between Talbot and Lyon. I could see a 50, depending on how they play. If Talbot struggles, you're going to have Lyon playing more.
I can't see
both play well.
I can't see Husso even being on the team. He's going to be gone by the time the season starts, and they got to make a deal for another defenseman, I think, or another goalie, a real goalie.
And if Talbot plays well, I mean, Talbot is 37.
Oh, I'm not saying
he's an old goalie, right? He could easily get hurt too, and now you're relying on Alex Lyon and Jack Campbell as your goaltending tandem, and that might not go good. If Alex Lyon gets hurt, then you're relying on Jack Campbell and Husso, which is
Right.
Just
Talbot was a 913 per save percentage last year. Um, but that's because he didn't face a lot of shots. He's going to face about 10 more shots a game than he normally is used to.
yeah.
And so that's going to affect his save percentage. And I bet you the quality of shots are a lot better than what he faced in
Yes.
Los Angeles. I mean, it's Los Angeles was a good
It
defensive
is
team.
going to be interesting to how the team develops. Obviously, we'll know more once like they go to training camp and see how the team's exactly playing. Hopefully, no one gets hurt. But it is a question mark on exactly how much better or worse we are because we kind of are still stagnant to how good we were. So, but with all that being said, let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know if you think they improved or not. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe on the video. Until next time, hope to see everybody soon.